blah, blah. So I'm operating the switcher, and I know we're starting this podcast over again.
Take two after like
take
30 minutes.
two. I know I fucked up. Like it's weird because we don't have Mike here today, and now we're getting audio because before we weren't getting any audio. So I feel like a fucking dumbass. But in my defense, I'm usually just my god damn it. But anyway, I'm operating the switchers right here out of frame slightly, and that's why my hand is right here. And it's weird because usually we have Mike here operating everything, but now I'm the one who's operating it, and I totally have to make sure all these things work. But either way, podcast 22 features our guest, John J. Reyna, a good friend from way back in the day.
Welcome, John.
You know, just moved back in from Japan. And,
6.5 years.
6.5 years, nearly 7. Visited him a lot of the times that I did go there.
That was good.
And tourism was really great. You know, I really loved it, you know. So, honestly, this is still a topic we haven't even touched on yet is like, you know, what was your journey like going there? I totally like want to remember because I kind of vaguely get this
I don't know
right.
if I ever like talked about it really with anyone, you know.
Yeah.
For me, going to Japan was kind of a culmination of a lot of things, and you know that I used to be in a band for quite a few years, and after that had ended, I thought, well, I have to do something. I have to go back to school, and you know, once I had gotten to school, I was just kind of bouncing around, not sure what I wanted to do. And I had taken a Japanese course. And the reason behind that was because when you go to community college, you have to take a set amount of courses before you transfer into your university. And they have language requirements. And I didn't take Spanish because I didn't want to. I looked at Chinese and I was like, that's fucking impossible. And I just wasn't interested in like German or French or stuff like that. And Japanese was an option. And I was like, yeah, why not? You know, my original intention was to go to a 4-year like CSUN or to go to like, I don't know, you know, UCSD or something, you know, in California. And so I'd taken the Japanese courses, and then the teacher's like, oh, you should do the second one. Like, you're not so bad at this. And then so I did the second one, and at that time I was at Glendale College, and I then had transferred over to Torrance, and I went to El Camino College, and the reason behind that is because I lived in the South Bay for some time, and so I went to school over there, and then the teacher over there is like, yeah, you should really consider like just, you know, continuing, and I was like, yeah, why not? This is kind of fun, and it's interesting. And then she had presented an opportunity to me and said, like, hey, one of the classmates that we have, you know, she's looking for somebody to help with an English school in Japan. And you would go for like 3 months, and you know, it would be a good experience. And I said, oh, you know, I'm kind of interested in that. And I remember the lady, and this is a good lesson in why you should help people without expecting anything in return. I always live by that policy, is helping without expecting anything, because I always want to have like a good amount of karma on my side for whatever happens one day. So this lady, she was in my class. I had a Japanese speaking class because they had like regular Japanese class, and then you could take like a speaking only class so you can learn how to speak. And she was old, and like she just wasn't getting it. And her reasons for learning was because her son was in Tokyo and had kids and a family in Tokyo, and she wanted to communicate to those kids in Japanese. And I thought, oh, that's fucking cool. So I was like, yeah, I'll help you out. You know, you're struggling. Like, you know, let's study together. And it was like this 70-year-old woman. Like, she was quite old.
My.
And little did I know, like, her husband is a photographer, or was a photographer for National Geographic. He traveled the world just taking pictures all over the place, and they had really good friends in Japan. And so that's how the opportunity was given to me, was basically because I had helped her, and I didn't ask her for anything in return. I just helped her. And so I was like, yeah, I'll go. Like, why not? Like, it sounds interesting to me. And I had no intention of like living in Japan at that time. And so I went over to Japan, to help out with the school. And I lived in an area called Nagano, the prefecture of Nagano, in this really tiny city called Ida. I mean, it's like tiny. There's not a whole lot there, and you can walk the entire city in maybe like 45 minutes. Like, it was tiny. It was really small, and I just loved the experience so much. Like, the people were so cool. The countryside was just really beautiful. We were next to the mountains, and like I just enjoyed it. And I thought like I wouldn't mind living out here. So once I got back, I had asked my teacher like, can I even go to school in Japan? Like, is that even a possibility? And she had introduced me to the university called Temple. Temple University is from Pennsylvania. It's in Philadelphia. It's probably the main school in Philadelphia, not Pennsylvania, but in Philadelphia. Like, Temple is like the school, and they had a campus in Japan. And I was like, okay, I'll try. And she said it was really hard because it is a tiny campus. They're only accepting just a few students like per semester. So I had to bust my ass for like 2.5 years, just study. And like, I almost got a 4.0 except for fucking economics was so shit. And so that ruined my 4.0. But I got accepted to the school, and that's how I got into Japan. And went to university for a couple of years, and I liked it, and I just stayed and started working, and I was there for fucking 6.5 years.
Yeah, and then you met Yuki at some point. That was fucking...
Yeah, for
Yuki's fucking amazing,
Yeah,
I think you guys are a great couple. She's an amazing... Dude, she's really good at cooking, too.
Yeah.
I like a lot of the things that I remember eating that were really good in Japan were because of her.
Yeah, for sure. Like, the time you came and we had food at the house, like that was just, sometimes, some of the best food is not even in the restaurant, sometimes it's at home.
Definitely.
Oh yeah, for her especially, because she always made it like really good.
Yeah,
that's what I really liked about it. But I just love that home feel,
Yeah, and while I was there, I just met a ton of people and just tried to integrate into society as much as I could, because I just wanted to get the experience of just being as close to a local as I could. Because one problem a lot of people that go over there is they want to become like Japanese, and it's like you have to accept the fact, and this is advice that I always give people that go to Japan. A few pieces of advice. One, learn Japanese. Like, you're really going to need it, unless like you plan to be like a fucking software engineer, or you plan to teach English for the rest of your fucking life. You'll never get a job unless you know some Japanese, like a decent amount. And then 2, be ready to accept the fact that you're never going to be one of them. They'll never see you as one of them.
Right.
Because you're not. Like, you have, and people get offended by that, and people think like, why would you see me as like a foreigner? And it's like, because you are. I mean, what did you expect? So I think if you can accept those 2 things, then you'll be fine.
That makes sense.
How long was the acclimation process? Because you've had
good question.
Linguistic and writing experience.
Good question.
You spoke it in college, like in a scholarly level. Like, how long was it?
Yeah,
I imagine it's pretty hard. I mean, coming from
for
as an
sure,
American,
like, no matter what you learn here,
culture shock.
There are some people who can do it. There are some people who can like learn Japanese like pretty well here. But those are like super, like, I know only of like one person who has done that, and she's just a genius. But you have to immerse yourself if you want to actually like learn how to speak, right? You can only watch so much anime. You can only watch so many dramas, right?
Stuff, yeah.
So once I got there, I had a good sense of the language, but once you start speaking to people, it's like, oh my god, like
it comes
I
at you
have
like
a lot to learn.
Yeah.
So in that sense, you make friends, and you watch a lot of the news. I watched a lot of news out there to try and help me understand like what people are speaking like naturally.
Yeah,
You know what
yeah.
I mean?
Conversation.
So that helped me a lot. So, it didn't take me too long. I would say maybe within 6 months to a year, I felt comfortable enough to get around and just do whatever. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it didn't take that long.
Granted, with your like scholastic experience.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool.
And plus, at that time, like, once I transferred from community college to the 4-year over there, I still on purpose took Japanese classes to
Yeah.
continue learning
To sharpen.
because I just wanted to know more as much as I could. So that my minor is Japanese, my major is international affairs, but my minor was Japanese because I wanted to keep, the reference, and I just wanted to continue learning. Because you'll never know the language completely ever.
Of course.
Even English,
As
there's
a
a lot of
non-native?
shit that we don't know.
Oh yeah.
You know,
English, I
so-
feel like is such a weird
Yeah,
language.
it's a weird language.
compared to other
What a
languages.
mutt language.
No, I mean, like,
way.
what I mean by that is, like, we have. It's like sometimes you look at like Japanese, from what I understand, from what you tell me, is like a definitive language. It's like there's no other ways to say things or pronounce things.
Yeah, I mean-
or at least there's limited ways. Like, for
Yeah,
example,
there's
like
exceptions.
in English, like we have like, I'm sure there's exceptions, but I feel like in English there's always exceptions. There's like an exception for fucking everything, And it's just
Yeah.
like having an H in the middle of ghost, or having like E's at the end of certain things.
Yeah.
It's like,
And
it's
silent
like
letters.
silent letters and like
Yeah.
contractions and stuff like that. Like, I feel like English is such a weird language in that
Yeah.
sense, but like there's like maybe less or none of that in other languages.
Yeah, it's hard.
you
It's
know?
definitely hard to learn for a lot of people, and but at least within Japanese, there's a lot of words that sound similar, and that will trip you out, and it'll really trick you. There's a lot of words that can sound really similar to each other. So if you don't
Same here.
you don't know the context of the
Context,
question,
right.
Right.
or sorry, if you don't know the context of the sentence, you're probably not going to have any idea, because Japanese itself is a very contextual language. Like, they will completely omit parts of the sentence, but they're implying like myself or you, depending on like how like whatever the context of the question is. Like, they won't almost always, but definitely they'll omit like just saying I. They won't say like
all the
I.
articles or something.
They'll just say like, I'm gonna instead of like, I'm going to eat. They'll just say like eat, and it infers like that I'm gonna eat.
My.
You know,
But with
so-
a certain inflection of tone.
No,
No.
No.
Wow.
but
I
you-
hear inflection of tone is also a thing there, right?
Yeah, definitely,
You know,
definitely, and
depending on how you say it.
depending on how you say things, you can
It's all
you
about
can
the
get
tone.
yourself into some trouble.
Oh,
But
man.
yeah, it's an interesting language. It's really hard to
Yeah.
learn, to be honest. Like, it's a really fucking hard language.
I'm just gonna tap my my half Japanese cousin Andre, and we'll just take her around. She'll just translate everything for me. So hope to see you,
Yeah, I mean,
See-
I mean, I hope you get to go, man.
dude. I gotta
because
go.
Going
man.
to
I want to
Japan,
go. Wanna go.
going to
great
Japan
experience.
is an experience, man.
it's a great experience.
What-
I my first time there, I'll never forget. It was amazing.
Yeah.
It was amazing, and also like it was fucking August, so it was hot and
My.
humid. It was terrible in terms of weather, but the experience itself was really good.
How's the news, John? Absorbing American media seems very bad news centric, clickbait centric, negative almost. How
That's
is
just
the
me
news
That's
here.
interesting to
in
bring up.
Japan?
That's interesting to bring up because I always made fun of the news in Japan. Like, when I would wake up,
'Cause it's so happy.
yeah, like
Positive?
the first like 5 minutes of the news, like there can be a fucking like fire outside of your house or whatever. 100 people died. But the
Yeah.
first 5 minutes of the news is gonna be this cute little dog, or like
My.
this really like
Corgi.
this cute kid that is saying something funny, and it's it's really like kind of happy go lucky thing before they get you into like the bad shit. And then like the
My.
bad shit, depending on how bad it is, the bad shit won't last that long, and then it's back to more like kind of happy news. So it's definitely like they've definitely pad the negativity
Negative.
as much as they can, so yeah, it's crazy.
Like
I wonder
80-20?
how. I'm curious to know how much good news they padded the Shinzo Abe assassination with.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of wish I was there to see like the vibe and I kind of wish that I was there to just just read the room, you know what I mean?
Right.
Because like for them like Abe was just a huge character. Like he was the
Right.
face of that country for a long time, and he's the longest prime minister in the history of that country. Like
Long tenure. Like he kept
the
getting
longest tenure. And that's a lot. That's saying a lot, because there have been prime ministers that have been there for like a fucking week, before before they quit. Like they're notorious for
Cycling
the high
through?
turnover of
Yeah,
prime
yeah.
ministers.
Yeah.
So he was the
Really?
longest serving one, and he was the face of that country. And so I know a lot of people, like him or not, they at least respected him, and he did do a lot of stuff for that country. So
Like anime,
like
which we can finally get on camera this time.
yeah.
Basically, in short, this guy Shinzo Abe was the part of the whole Cool Japan initiative,
Yeah.
and he was responsible for making cool exports like anime. So
Yeah. Anime
which
and Japanese porn.
Japanese.
But
Say what? You
yeah, exactly.
Nice. Play
But,
the Pornhub beat on drums.
Yeah, the
But I mean, like, it was just really cool because I know a lot of people base their identities off anime,
yeah.
and Gino, I feel like, is heavily one of them. And I want to know what would have happened if Gino never got into anime.
That would be weird.
Like
I
a
can't
parallel
imagine a world.
alternate
Alter ego.
multiverse.
I
You know,
can't-
think of the multiverse where it's like Gino never got into anime.
Can't imagine a world with
Anime-less Gino.
Gino not liking anime. That would be weird. But yeah, no, as I call him all the time, Abe is the anime king, and he helped a lot of the initiatives in making Japan more attractive for people to want to visit. So as I said before, all that shit that you see on YouTube or whatever, a lot of that is government funded marketing. And it's like, oh, look at this, 2,000-year-old shrine, and oh fuck, that's cool. I want to go see that. Things like that are because of his initiative to make people interested in going there. And then also, anime is another one. Anime is an extension of the culture. I would definitely heed against accepting anime as like what Japan is like or what Japanese culture is like, because it's not. Anime is anime. It's fucking fantasy. It's not real. But there are aspects of the culture within anime, and it does expand, and it does introduce people into different parts of the culture through that. So I do give anime its dues when it comes to that. But if you're going to Japan and expecting like fucking samurais and ninjas and like cute little blonde girls with massive tits, like Japan is not that place. Like it's not that at all. And it's kind of funny because like when I went to university in Japan, there were some students there that were disappointed in what was in Japan, because their whole point of reference and their whole like reason and passion was because they loved anime, and Japan is like this amazing, fantasy, like fantasy land. And it's like, dude, Japan is like, everybody is normal as fuck. Everyone wants to have a job that pays well. Everyone wants stability. Everyone wants to be happy. Like it's just a normal as fuck place.
That sounds
but
so
these
good.
guys,
These
guys were expecting like this, I don't know, this fucking harem fantasy anime, and it's just not like that. You're not gonna see people walking down the street with fucking samurai swords and ninjas jumping out of the trees and shit. Like it just doesn't happen.
And girls with like really big eyes.
Yeah.
Big
It
eyes.
just doesn't. It's not that kind of place. So if you go with no expectations, it turns out to be like one of the greatest places you can ever be. And so for me, like, of course, like when I was younger, I watched anime. I used to like Dragon Ball Z and stuff like that. But I
Right.
never had any expectations of Japan. So when I went there, I was like, oh, this place is fucking cool. And it was, it was cool enough for me to stay for like, more than 6 years.
Yeah.
So it was nice.
Japan's still. Oh, go ahead, Tim. You gonna say something?
No. Go ahead.
Yep.
I'm just
It's
switching.
they're Japan's still synonymous with quality though, right? With all their
Yeah.
exports, goods. Tim and I drive Toyota products. They're still going strong.
Yeah, and that's another.
I have like a pair of Yamaha speakers that I love, and they're like from like the 80s.
Yeah,
From
yeah.
Japan, they're great. Like
Yeah, and that's part of Abe's initiative to continue to push that image further of Japan being this quality country, of Japan being this, serious, like, major competitor on a global scale. So he continued to push that image of Japan has these crazy quality goods, and you can't go wrong with what's there. But definitely,
yeah.
quality out there is fantastic.
I also am a huge fan of the culture, and I want to share this story because I think it's like one of the coolest stories. When I went there in 2017 to visit you, I remember we went to a music festival. It's called Monster Bash.
Yeah, Monster Bash in Tokushima. Yeah, that was crazy.
dude, that was really fun. It's probably
times.
one of the best music festivals you will ever go to in your life.
It was
And
pretty
here's
cool.
why. So when I went there, it was a very long journey. But when we finally get there, like going into a music festival in Japan is unlike any here because a music festival in Japan is like much cleaner.
Yeah.
Plus the media companies don't want you filming. So they don't want you like, doing this, like waving your phone and like doing this.
Yeah,
I
they
think it's
won't let
annoying
you.
even in concerts here.
They won't
to
let
be
you
honest.
record, yeah.
Yeah, they don't want you to record there. I mean, here it's just annoying, right? Where it's just like, dude, you're going to take a video of some band or some artist, and it's like, what the best you could do is just put that on your story or
Yeah.
maybe on YouTube where nobody's going to want to hear shitty audio or shaky video. It's like, come on, let's get real. Nobody really wants to see that, other than maybe you. But here, it's just allowed, and I guess it's okay. Back in Japan, none of that's allowed. And as a result, I feel like people are just more into the experience of listening and watching music. Probably what it was like back in the days of like, think about the 80s and before, like with Journey or with Guns N' Roses or Zeppelin. Like going to their concerts, you just had like a lighter.
Yeah.
And that was the most that you would like light stuff or put stuff in the air. And you were just in the music. And obviously you were probably doing like drugs. But that's cool because it's like that just made you more into the music. Which is like I feel like people are more addicted to like here in the States just getting validation from like, hey, I'm at this concert and I want people to know it.
Keyword validation, I suppose.
Yeah. But like I digress. I like that music festival for that aspect mostly. And then the other thing is too, I remember Yuki, your wife, she was in the crowd like moshing with the band and stuff, and it's just like
So sick.
Crazy.
what's nuts is that she lost her phone,
Yeah.
right? And normally when you lose your phone here in the States
It's done.
at any situation, it's like it's
Over.
hacked, it's gone, it's sold, it's
Nope.
stripped for parts.
Got
But
that
dude,
shit right back.
like right when she got that when she got that phone, she got it back at the lost and found, and it's like, oh, it's right here. Somebody turned it in. I'm like, wow, somebody turned it in.
Yeah, it's crazy because
Imagine that,
I've gone
dude.
to shows with her before, and she just
That's so
doesn't
crazy.
care, and it's like, aren't you worried about losing your stuff? But she knows like somebody's gonna give it back, or
Amazing.
people like drop money on the floor. Most of the time, people are gonna give it back. So it's just different.
Yeah, the culture there is just so different, which is why like traveling to Japan. We had a guy here previously. His name was Mike. He was also like a Mike, but he had a Skyline, and he's been to Japan a few times, and he said like he was also tripped out about like leaving your wallet while you go to the bathroom and
Yeah.
stuff, like and your phone. Nobody's gonna touch it or mess with it,
Yeah.
and it's just like a huge cultural impact if you do act out of line there, which is why like being a foreigner in another country like that, you just really don't want to act out of line,
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, that again, I'm not trying to I'm not trying to say one culture is better than the other because, you know, everything has its good and its bad, but definitely one of the pluses of Japan is that culture of taking care of each other and not trying not to commit crimes and you know, just overall the general well-being of society is a big thing for them. You know, the good aspect to that is that yeah, crime rate is low because we're all trying to watch after each other. And then, as I mentioned before, the kind of big like public shaming culture that happens if you're the one who sticks out, if you're the one who's you know, doing some shit, everyone's just kind of, you know, shaming you essentially, you know, so that keeps crime rates low. And but the flip side of that is obviously a lot of groupthink and a lot of not so much critical thinking and creativity comes out of Japan in terms of, you know, just individualism. You know, there's not too many individuals there. There's a lot of uniformity in that country. And so that really hurts the growth and development of new ideas, is because you're thinking like everyone else. And if everyone else is thinking the same thing, how are you going to come up with new innovative things, right? So that's
True.
kind of the downside of the society of Japan. You know, upside is, yeah, low crime. People are really fucking cool. And just in general, like overall great place. Downside is obviously groupthink and the kind of public shaming culture that happens. It's just different.
Yeah, it's different. I
Interesting.
mean, it's like there are some aspects of that culture which I absolutely love, which are those. And probably I like them a lot more because here in the States, or at least here in LA, like everybody's kind of everybody's just, at least me, I think people mostly mind to themselves. They don't really do a whole lot. But I think there's also just a whole bunch of like dickheads that
Yeah.
just want to do whatever, you know, and just, you know, they're just looking to make your day by just being a dick, or, you know, just being a Karen or whatever, you know. It just sucks because like like
Yeah.
sometimes you get the feeling that people here just really don't care about you,
Yeah.
which is, you know, fine. I don't need people to care about me. That's not my point. My point here is that like I think people forget this whole aspect, like, hey, we're all living here together.
Yeah.
We're all here
It's a
to
community.
kind of like, it's a community still. You know, despite like if you want to do things on your own or whatever, blah blah blah. It's like you feel like that aspect of at least maybe even American culture before is just at least gone here in LA.
Yeah.
I can't really speak for other parts. I'm pretty sure in like smaller rural parts of the United States,
Well-
it's much nicer. But definitely here in a city in LA, everybody's
Well-
so individualistic that they just don't want to
Mm.
help each other. You know?
Yeah, a big part of it, a lot of it has to do with inequality.
Okay.
Inequality is not a big thing in Japan, so people aren't really worried about, you know, having to hustle and, you know, trying to make money and I don't care if I fuck over the person next to me, you know, I'm
Right.
trying to survive kind of thing like that. So there's not a whole lot of inequality going on over there, you know, versus here people buy into this myth of like hustle culture, right? And it's like, oh, if you're not hustling, somebody else is hustling. They're working hard. They're gonna make it, and you're not gonna make it. So you need to sleep like 2 hours a day and work the rest of the time. And it's like, yeah, get the fuck out of here.
Right.
Like a lot of these millionaires, a lot of that is inherited to them, and a lot of that is people being in the right place at the right time. Especially when it comes to like, you know, when it comes to wealth in terms of like real estate, you know, owning land and shit, like all of this was wide open at some point, and somebody just happened to be lucky enough to be here to claim land and pass that on through generations, right? Or like somebody was lucky enough to develop some kind of tool for the internet or whatever it may be. A lot of it is like right place at right time. So, you know, this kind of hustle culture thing, I always kind of make fun of it because it's like, no matter how many hours or how hard you work, like the chances of you really making an impact in terms of helping yourself out of poverty or whatever it is very unlikely. So people are okay to fuck each other over. People are okay to sell each other out because I need to make money. I'm fucking poor right now. I got to pay for my bills. I got to do this. I got to do that. I don't care if I hurt the person next to me, not physically, but I don't care if they're starving, as long as I'm not starving, then it doesn't matter to me. So over there, inequality is not so much of a thing. Of course, there is some, but again, that country has so much government intervention and making sure that companies are not fucking people over and making sure that people are just being good humans in general, that it works out, versus here where a lot of people are just like, capitalism galore, the market will take care of it. It's like, no, are you fucking kidding me? Like, humans are terrible. Like, we're greedy and we're going to take advantage of whatever opportunity that we can.
So I'm going to cite an example, right? The Japanese bullet train, the Shinkansen, definitely one of the best forms of transport I've ever been on. Arguably, I think,
I love it.
one of the best in the world.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, you like it, like I like it. Hopefully Jason gets to try it. But it's so good, and it's made, or the whole initiative for it was by the government, run by the government, still run by the government, from what I understand, right?
Yeah.
So it's really great when the government can do stuff like that and have an awesome form of transport like the bullet train, like to cut across the country and to travel from one end to another in like a few hours. Yeah. I mean, like, obviously a plane is faster, but like a bullet train is, like, for what, a fraction of the price, maybe?
It's more convenient.
I mean, you're already going to train stations everywhere in like Japan, at least in major cities. It's great. It's like, and train systems are already really good in Japan. Like, nobody's late or anything like that, right?
Yeah.
So it's really good, and I really love it, and it's a shame to not see that reflected here. Now, here, at least when I speak about California, there was a whole initiative for high-speed rail, right? Which was supposed to start in like Bakersfield and Fresno, which we've seen when we went up to Modesto when we picked up the panels.
Yeah.
We saw it getting started,
Yeah.
but guess what? That entire project is already out of money. And it's just like, you can't help but think, that like, why is it out of money? It's because I think people in this culture in America are very greedy. Right. And I really think it's more of a bureaucratic thing. But then you also look at people that are in the airline industry, or let's say the auto industry. It's like, if they put a bullet train, that takes a chunk out of sales for them. Oil companies. Right. Oil companies function from both the planes using jet fuel and cars using gas. So they probably have this power to be like, look, let's find a way to shut this down indirectly. By saying we run out of money, we have to pay this, union dues, whatever. And it's just like, it's a shame. Like here, our government can't get something good going because there's a lot of people in between.
There's a lot of lobbyists and a lot of,
and then there's that too.
A lot of corporate interests and
corporate interests.
America is one of the only developed nations that doesn't have a high-speed rail. It's kind of crazy. Even India has one, which is kind of crazy.
Wow.
So we're one of the only ones. Yeah, India has one made by Japan. Made by Japan. So they have a high-speed rail. China has one. Korea has all sorts of countries. I
actually got to go to the one in China. That one was good too.
Yeah.
Nuts.
So, a big part of it is, corporate interest. If you look outside, everybody's got a car. You can't get around without a car. So car companies have a huge interest in not expanding a well put together transportation system, that being trains. You can't say it's impossible, because it's not impossible. I lived in Tokyo. I fucking seen it. You don't have to build it outside. You can build it under the ground.
Right.
That's and the trains go everywhere. There's absolutely no need whatsoever for a car when you're living in Tokyo, because it's just you're just wasting money on parking space. So that's how good the train system is over there. But here, the car companies will never let us get out of that car culture that they themselves have helped develop over the years, right? Cars are part of our identity. I was talking about this recently, and why everyone is so interested in a certain type of car or a certain color or like a certain anything, right? And that's because it's an extension of your identity. like when we turn 15, we can take the permit test and blah blah
Right.
blah, and it's like it's also part of your coming of age. It's like, oh
True.
fuck, I have a license now, I can drive, I'm independent, I can go anywhere, these
Right.
type of things, right? So it's really ingrained in us, so it's hard to get us to break from that kind of thing. But if you think about it, it's always been ingrained in not just us, but our parents and our parents' parents. A lot of it
Right.
is car companies that have poured like billions of dollars into marketing. That's why like we remember like the songs of like like a rock and shit like that. You know what I mean? Like it resonate. You remember that because it's like that's part of your culture, right? So to ask
Yeah.
people to get rid of their cars is a very difficult ask, and even if they want to, car companies are not going to let us do it, because then what are they going to fucking do? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's
So-
it's everything related to that, because there's also like oil, right?
Yeah.
'Cause, I mean, like at least traditional cars, like they're powered by oil, whether it's diesel or gasoline or petrol, as they call it in other countries, E85, whatever have you. Like they have a huge interest, and arguably a bigger controlling interest, because
Yeah.
it's like, dude, especially with the advent of electric cars.
Yeah.
So it's just like, what are we going to do once more and more people have electric cars, it's more prominent in cities like this, like LA or San Francisco, like in big cities where, I mean, like you can go from place to place realistically within a 300-mile range.
Yeah.
That's fine. And you just charge when you get home or when you go to a supercharger. I think electric cars have a great place in society. I like the fact that, there's less pollution. I mean, I'm not going to hate on that. That's always
Yeah.
good for us. I like the fact that they're quiet.
Yeah.
They're at least Teslas in general, they're very safe. They're
Yeah.
arguably one of the safest cars that are on the market right now. I just don't see myself ever getting one,
Yeah.
at least not as a primary car, because I see Teslas as more of a form of like, those are for people who don't really like to drive.
Yeah.
They just want to get to places.
Get somewhere.
And it's fine, or they want to look nice doing it. That's okay.
Sure,
you
as
know?
Mike said, it as a fashion statement, as your
Yeah.
sort of
It's
like,
a fashion statement.
I have an
yeah.
Yeah.
iPhone and a Tesla
So-
kind of thing.
But I can sit here and tell you, as somebody who drove for 10 plus years, 15 plus years, even worked at a car rental company.
Right.
There is life without a car.
Yeah, there
And-
is.
And I never if you had told me at like 18 or 19, like you're gonna stop driving for years, I'd be like, yeah, you're fucking crazy. That's not possible.
You're like, no.
And I didn't drive for a long time, and to be honest, like I'm happy to drive again, but I'm not happy about the maintenance costs or the gas costs, things like that. You know what I mean? Like that.
Yeah,
that
definitely
is
not.
something that I didn't have while I was over there. So I think now, with that experience of being over there and not having a car for years, like honestly, I can give a shit less about cars anymore, because I know what it's like not to have that. But again, here it's part of the identity, it's part of the culture, and I get it. I totally understand it. So I don't think cars are going anywhere. They'll be here forever.
Yeah, at least in the States, I could say with confidence, like, even if it comes in the form of an electric car, you're still going to have a car to go places,
Yeah.
I feel like an electric car is really the closest you can get to, like, public transport with, like, a train or something like that.
Yeah.
Because it's like, they're autonomous, too.
Yeah.
You're not driving a train anytime you're on it, unless you're the driver. But, like, really, it's like, when you get a car that's an autonomous driving car, you're not really getting on it to get the experience of driving, like
Yeah.
I'm one of the few people who probably enjoy driving just to have like the nice roar of an engine
Yeah.
and to like shift gears and all
I
that
get
stuff.
it.
Like I really like that stuff.
I
But
get
at
it.
the same time, I was in Tokyo. I've seen life without a train or life without a car. And I can totally see it. I actually felt like I was healthier because I'm walking everywhere.
Yeah, man, you gotta fucking
know?
walk everywhere.
Yeah. You have to walk everywhere in Japan because
That's why everyone's so
like-
skinny.
Yeah, no one's big.
Yeah.
But that's the cool part. Is just kind of like I feel like you're healthier here. What I liked about eating in Japan is not only is the food cleaner, but that aside, you're going from place to place on foot.
Yeah.
You're walking off your meal, just going to the place or getting from the place to home or to your next destination.
Yeah.
Like here, you're getting in a car and then, you're driving, you're sitting in the car, you walk to the car and then you're sitting again when you go to like wherever it is you need to go, so you're sitting a lot of the time, which is kind of like funny. But in Japan, you're walking everywhere. And that's why nobody's really fat,
Yeah, it's true. It's an outlier to see really big people. I'm fucking huge in Japan. Here, I'm quite normal.
You're an American normal.
Yeah, right. So, but yeah, I mean, it's just different. Yeah, I do miss that aspect too. Is just, kind of being forced to, move. That was a big thing, eating a big meal, and if I wanted to go home, I had to fucking walk, So that helped out a lot. Just with my health in general, I felt very healthy. And then the healthcare system was really good there for me.
Nice.
Everybody over there, everybody has healthcare no matter what. And so I think, that was fantastic. I was never worried about anything. Here, like, I have to worry about, like, fuck, I got to be careful with this and this and this, right? Over there, it's like you pay, well, it depends on how much you make per year. But your company will normally take it out of your check. They'll pay for you. But if you don't have a job, then you pay like $10 a month or something, and you get the same healthcare as you get the same healthcare as the fucking richest guy in Japan. So
that's awesome.
And there's a lot of times where I got sick and in the beginning I was reluctant to go get treatment. Not treatment, but just to get checked, because here I'm conditioned to think like, fuck, I'm gonna pay like $500 for this visit,
for an emergency visit or what have you.
Yeah, and then over there it was like, okay, let's check you. Oh, you got this and this. Take this medicine. Get the fuck out of here. And I paid like $8. It's like, oh, okay,
sweet.
So it was definitely quite different, and I didn't have to wait either. There's always like that kind of misconception here that like, oh, if everybody has healthcare, there's gonna be lines for days and years, and it's like, not. I waited like 10 minutes, so.
Well, I will also say, I feel like here, and I feel like I have some authority to say this. Here, people abuse healthcare. There are people who abuse healthcare, namely homeless people, drug seekers, which are sometimes the same people. And they are hogging up the line because they claim to be sick of something, when in reality they're just looking to get a high.
Yeah.
And so I don't feel like, honestly, that it's because, that might play into it too. But again, that's a cultural thing. I don't think people in Japan are looking to get a high just because they're homeless and stuff.
Well, drugs are fucking illegal in that country anyways, so.
Well,
if you get caught with weed, you can go to jail for like 14 years. Something like that.
Wow.
So
something so simple as weed.
They're crazy about it over there. They don't mess around, especially like with pills. Like their dosage of medication is really low. Like even just getting like ibuprofen, it's just so weak. It's like 50 milligrams.
That's so low.
It's like, dude, I need like 10 of these. But the point,
honestly,
the reasoning behind that is because they don't want people to get addicted to shit. And then they look at America and they're like, yeah, we don't want that. Like, we can't be giving out fucking, Vicodins and Oxycontins like candy.
Dependency and such.
They're really good at studying other countries and taking from that and making it their own. They're really good at observing. So that's why, pills are they're very weak or hard to get in general. Just because they don't want a bunch of fucking, druggies on the street, sleeping on the floor and shit like that. So it's definitely different. Definitely different.
That must play into the health of just the betterment or how much better health is for folks there, society is as a whole. Maybe because there isn't such a big dependency on like, these hard drugs. Oh, you're right, Tim. That mess up your system,
Yeah, for sure. And I think, and also, again, drugs are so illegal over there. Nobody really does them. And the homeless that are homeless over there, they're not homeless because of drugs. They're homeless mainly because like they've gambled all their money away on pachinko or some shit. They have no more house because they played too much fucking pachinko. So they're living on the street and You know, and a big difference between the homeless there versus here is the homeless over there are very, you can't see them. They're hiding. Like, they don't want to be seen. They're embarrassed, and they don't want people to know about their situation. So you'll never, not, I don't say you'll never see homeless, but it's very rare that you'll see a homeless person.
Yeah, unlike here, there's a homeless on every fucking corner.
Yeah, man.
It's definitely different.
How's their housing situation?
Housing is fine. It's
Yeah.
tiny,
Tiny.
you know. I mean, the houses there are really small.
Yeah.
But
Oh, for the homeless.
oh, for the homeless, I mean, they
Any,
do
like,
have a lot of
incentivized-
resources available to them, you know, and they do take advantage of them. But there are just like with any countries, there are the homeless who they just want to be on their own.
Like
They
they
don't want
refuse to
anyone to tell
comply.
them what to do.
Yeah.
So those people usually just sleep in the park or something. They leave people alone.
Yeah, interesting.
I wish we could say the same about the homeless here, but I never get left alone by the homeless here.
Yeah, well,
I just ran into like 3 homeless today.
did you?
Yeah, one of them was like asking me money on a crosswalk because I'm in the 8.6 and it's no AC, so I'm just dying of the heat. Of course,
Windows
it takes
open.
every advantage. It takes advantage of me like having my window open and saying, "Hey, man, you got some change?" Like, I'm like, no.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have to go beyond like no, and usually they'll bugger off.
Yeah.
Like usually, like after just like one no, most of them just leave you alone. It's just fine, you know. Well, what I don't like is like sometimes people guilt you into like, oh, but they're homeless, they're this, they're blah blah
Yeah,
blah.
yeah.
I'm like, oh, do you want to donate $1 to the homeless? Like, we know at the end of your purchase, do you want to round up for the homeless? I'm like, no. I don't think charities. I don't think charities here in the United States are really completely nonprofit. A lot of that money goes to that charity to keep it running or do whatever,
Sure,
and like a
sure.
small portion ends up somewhere. Again, a huge cultural like thing here. It's just like, dude, we can't do what we do if you don't give us some of that money.
Yeah.
I'm like, bullshit. If I'm gonna give money to a homeless, I'm gonna give it straight to the homeless. But even then, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like the homeless situation here, at least in LA, is just so bad. Like, you know that part on Balboa and Devonshire, namely on Devonshire, right across the band theater where Nachos used to be.
Yeah.
At one point, there was like a ton of homeless living from that one light to the next, and it's like, dude, what the hell's going on? And there's still homeless there. Like, I was just there with Derek the other day, and 2 homeless were like arguing over ramen, like a top ramen. That's
Well, it's
fucking
good, man.
weird. I mean, it's good, but holy crap!
I'm
Like,
tell
you're
you.
gonna.
I'll tell you
You're
about
gonna-
this ramen. That top ramen is no joke.
And then, you know, like there's some homeless who are just willing to do shit that's just a lot crazier, and
Yeah.
you know, you can never really not pay attention to them. Like, I'm always weary of homeless because some of them are drugged out or looking to get drugged out and will do anything to get drugged out, threaten you for money, you know, attack you for no reason.
Some might even
It
squeeze you.
happens, dude. It happens. There was an Olympic medalist here
Oh,
from
yeah,
the
I
States.
saw that.
Yeah, you saw that on the news? Yeah, so apparently she got attacked by a homeless
Yeah.
for whatever reason. She got like a fucking black eye or
huge
whatever.
black eye.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's horrible. Like, she fucking, like, you know, Olympic athletes also, by the way, don't make any fucking money. Like, hardly. They go back to like doing their regular job when they're done.
Yep.
You know, but I digress. Yeah, she got attacked by homeless, and it's just like, see, it's situations like that where it's just like, I don't trust any homeless.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not saying all homeless are bad, because there are literally some homeless out there who are just wanting to just live off the grid. They just want to be free. They don't want to subscribe to any rules or a job. I mean, I know there are those people. There's some nice homeless that I've met too, albeit rare, but I have met them. But for the most part, a lot of homeless, they're looking to get high off of something. And, you know, given the nature of the profession I'm in, I do see them. I see them at their very bottom when they
Yep.
can't take care of themselves, and we're forced to take care of them. So it's just, that's a huge challenge in healthcare. Is healthcare workers looking to take care of people who just don't want to take care of themselves. And homeless is a decent chunk of it, I think, depending on where you are. You know, maybe if you were like downtown LA, probably a huge amount. You know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but even
I
the big
imagine-
hospitals get them. Like, you know, Cedars gets them. UCLA gets them, so that's a challenge, and I think it's also a cultural aspect, like you said, tying that back in, where it's just like in Japan, I feel like it's different, or you see less homeless because the culture there is just different, unlike here, and so,
yeah, for sure. They don't want to be seen, so you don't, you don't really catch them much, but yeah, it's definitely different over there. But again, I don't want to make it sound like Japan is this perfect place, because it's really not. There's a lot of shit that is not very good about that country, but at least for myself, in terms of the lifestyle that I am interested to have, and in terms of the things that I'm interested in, it's the country that I most prefer to live. Of course, I'm from here and I love here, and I never hated here. That's not why I left. I just wanted to try something different, something new, and I ended up having a lot of fun. It doesn't bother me to be back. Definitely it's different, and honestly, like I do prefer to go back to Japan, but I make the best of it while I'm here, and hang out with friends and family and just do what I can do.
Fuck yeah, it's so nice having you here, man.
Yeah,
I mean, like I love you so much as my friend, and I care so much about you. And it's just nice to having you back. We shared a lot of really great memories and a lot of traveling. We have a lot of mileage on our belt as friends. So that being said, it kind of like makes me sad you're not there, because I love going there and seeing you.
Yeah, we did a lot of cool stuff over there. Japan is it's a very welcoming country. It's a very interesting place to be, and I think one thing I really liked about Tokyo is, even if you have nothing to do, you just walk outside of your house and there's all sorts of shit just to look at. Even if you're broke, you can walk just anywhere and there's something interesting to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a bunch of, I remember watching Anthony Bourdain, and he was describing what Tokyo is like to him. And he described it as a bunch of mini Manhattans in one city. And I'm like, yeah, that's actually quite accurate, to be honest. Like, there's all sorts of shit going on all over the place. So that's what I liked about being there, for sure. So like I said, there's a lot of really good things about that country that I had a lot of fun with, But there's also, some bad shit too. If you're an immigrant, you basically have no rights. No matter what happens, like, they can do whatever they want. They had this case of a lady from Sri Lanka. She had overstayed, but she didn't want to go back home due to some kind of abuse situation going on in Sri Lanka.
Okay.
And Japan just detained her, and they treated her like shit in the detainee area, and she died, basically.
Oh, that sucks.
She wasn't able to seek refuge there. It sucks.
Yeah, she asked for medical attention and everything, and they thought she was lying, basically.
Oh, man.
And they refused her any kind of medical treatment. She just died there. And it was a huge problem, because like that is the general view of these immigration officers towards foreigners, is that they're not human. They're just here breaking the rules, so you shouldn't treat them as like humans. They're just there occupying space. So it's a bad situation for immigrants. What I can say, I got lucky, and people here really, they like to fight against the notion of white privilege, but it is a real thing. And I have benefited from that, even though I'm not white. If you go to Japan, most Japanese people don't know what a fucking Latino is. They have no idea, like a Mexican, whatever. If you say I'm from America, they automatically assume you're a white person, unless you're black, but they automatically assume you're white. And it's like, yeah, I'm American, but my mom's from Peru, my dad's got Mexican blood. They don't, none of that is, it doesn't compute over there. They just think you're white. So there's a lot of discrimination towards other Asians in Japan, and it's really heavy.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's really heavy towards Filipinos. Like, basically, Filipinos are not seen very well in Japan. Essentially, I don't want to say most, because that's a huge generalization, but a lot of people will think like, oh, you're Filipino, you must work in a brothel, you must be a sex worker of some
Yeah,
sort.
I work in a brothel.
Or if you're a woman, obviously, or you must do like some low end job or something, right? And the same thing,
Like a gardener.
they discriminate really hard against Chinese people and Korean people, and Vietnamese people and Thai people. Like they used to have this program that I think might have got discontinued. I'm not entirely sure. But they had this program where basically they would bring in laborers from Vietnam and they would have them work on the farm, and it was all under the guise of learning a vocation to take it back to their country and do it in their country, right? But that's not what was happening. Basically, they would take away their passports. They wouldn't pay them, or they would pay them very little.
Man.
There was this one guy who he got hurt and his fucking eye fell out, and the employer just sent him back to Vietnam. And and essentially like human rights was like, hey, like this program that you have going on, like this is not very good, right? And then at one point they were giving a lot of entertainment visas to Filipino women to come into Japan.
Interesting.
And they called it entertainment, but essentially it's to work as a sex worker, right? And Human Rights Watch was like, yeah, you're giving away a lot of entertainment visas. Like, what the fuck are these people doing?
Entertaining.
And
Sucks,
essentially, like, they had to tell the Japan, like, stop that shit, basically. But, I never, ever felt any discrimination because I was the recipient of this white privilege that happens in Japan. So essentially, yeah, that's just, that was that was a huge shock to me in learning how some Japanese people, not all, I would say quite a lot of them don't, but some do discriminate quite hard on other Asian populations. They won't do it to Americans. They won't do it to white people because they're scared of them in a sense, and they feel like maybe they're aggressive and might hurt them. I don't know why it's that, but they definitely discriminate really hard against other Asians. Which is kind of crazy.
Oop. Gotta change your battery.
Hold on. Battery change.
Let's take a minute to change the battery.
And beer change. And water break. You guys want some waters?
Yeah, I'll take a water.
Take a water. What want to take?
Water. Oh, hot as balls in here. That's true. Could be worse.
Could be worse. I think. I remember that that Pakistani guy. Was it Pakistani? The guy who had the curry.
Yeah, it's a
so
Pakistani
good.
curry spot. Yeah.
Holy crap!
That's
we
that's
still
like
dream
the
of
best.
that place.
To me, like that's one of the best restaurants in Tokyo, and it's not even Japanese food; it's fucking Pakistani curry. And I remember telling you and your friends that when we went to drink, and I'm like, "Dude, we got to go eat this curry," and they're like, "Curry? Like, what the fuck am I coming to eat curry here for?" It's like, dude, no, you gotta eat this curry. It's so fucking good. Yeah, that place is awesome.
Yeah, I think I'll put a picture of that like right here. But yeah, it's really good.
Oh. Hey.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Some water from Jason here. Thank you. Thank you very much. But yeah, that Pakistani curry place is fucking amazing.
Yeah, and what's funny is that Bobby was trying to remember my good friend Bobby, who Tim knows also. He was trying to remember the name.
Shout out to you, Bobby.
Of
Love
the
you.
Pakistani curry spot, and he went on Google looking for it. And he had clicked on the pictures of a spot that was somewhat familiar to him, and in one of the first pictures was like a picture of the side of my face eating there. He's like, oh,
no way, you're on Google. Yeah. You're on Google Maps.
It's there.
You're on Google Maps eating the.
It's there. It's so random as fuck, but yeah, that it's there. So, yeah, that place is awesome. Once COVID happened, I realized like how small the community of foreigners actually is in Japan, and it makes up
How so?
seriously. It makes, let's see. So I think it's like the number is like 97 or 98% is like Japanese people, and 2% is like other like
Wow,
foreigners
that's
or
very
whatever it may
small.
be. It's incredibly tiny, and they're almost all in Tokyo or like the major cities.
Right.
So I remember, just realizing like how tiny the community is there, and how just there wasn't a whole lot of foreigners living in that country. But for as small as the community was, people did work hard, and there was a lot of restaurant owners, which was pretty cool. So Tokyo's similar to LA, where you can get any type of food from any country, so you won't have to worry about that.
I mean, Japan is just like a really awesome experience. I also just really like the music experience. A lot of Japanese bands are really dope. I mean, we do music here, obviously,
Yeah.
as you can see. But, but you were in a band. That's pretty fucking dope. We got to see you a few
For
times.
some time, yes, I was.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Tell us about that band. It was called Modern American Theater.
Theater.
Holy shit. What a dope
Yeah, I
band.
mean, I had always played instruments with my buddy Justin. I think we were freshmen in high school
Nice.
when he had invited me over, and he's like, "Hey, you want to play bass for this band that I was, that he was a part of? They needed somebody to fill in on bass, and I essentially just became part of that band, and that band was my first band. It was called A Week's Notice, and like we used to play
Nice.
shows like all over the place, in the general area, mostly just the valley, and I think the furthest we went with that was probably like Sunland, but we played a lot of shows, and that was
Cool.
my first experience. I was only like 14 years old at that time, and
Cool.
it only lasted for a little while, but then after that, I remember Justin had asked me to play bass for him again, and he was interested in doing this kind of like indie kind of like indie music project, and I was like, oh, I'm not sure. Like, in that time, I was like super into like really heavy music. I was listening to a lot of like Poison the Well. I used to listen to Between the Buried and Me a lot. This really fucking heavy music, and I was like, I'm not really interested in playing like indie kind of pop music. But I did it as a favor, and because I really love Justin, and we are still very good friends, even though I don't talk to him as much as I'd like to.
Right.
So I filled in, and it was never intended to be permanent in my mind, but it progressively started to get a little bit more polished, and the music started to get more interesting, and I was like, you know what, like I kind of like this, and then so I just stuck with it, and we got relatively popular around the area. We would play shows all over the place here in California, up north,
Right.
and we used to go everywhere. So it was a great experience. I mean, I wouldn't trade that for anything, and I think because of that, I was able to make a lot of friends in other places, and yeah, music was a lot of fun. It was fun, but very taxing, especially when you want to be serious about music, especially when you want to make money out of being a musician. It's really fucking hard unless you're signed to a label, because at that time we were still like, the internet was not how it is now, where anybody, like, SoundCloud wasn't a thing. Like, no, you couldn't really just upload your music for free on the internet for anyone to find. Like, there was systems like that just starting, like Bandcamp was one of them.
Right.
But it was like in the very like starting stages, and we were along with that. So I feel like maybe had we lasted a few more years, maybe it could have gone somewhere. But when you're trying to make money out of it, fuck, it's hard. Like, it's really hard, even if you're selling CDs, because we used to sell CDs all over the place, not just here in the States. We used to sell CDs in Germany and Japan and London. Like, people would, and I remember finding like a blog in Malay, and I had no idea what the fuck they were writing about, but it was fucking cool to see, like, and there was a blog in Japan that had wrote about us. Like, it was fucking awesome, but again, at the end of the day, if you're not part of a label, which you don't need anymore. But if you're not part of a label at that time, you're not going to make money.
Sure.
And also being part of a label is really like selling a lot of yourself as well. Not in terms of like being a sellout, but in terms of selling your intellectual property.
Right.
It doesn't belong to you anymore at some point, right? So we had fiddled around with the idea of, you know, signing with labels and stuff. We did send a few press packages out to a few different labels, and we worked with a few relatively now famous producers. We worked with this guy called Eric Ron, and he's producing like some fucking massive bands these days.
Okay.
But when we worked with him, like he was just starting, and
damn.
that was cool. That was a lot of fun. But you know, it just wasn't sustainable. If no matter how many CDs you sell, if you don't have an investment coming your way, you know, we would rent out a van and play in like San Francisco and sell maybe like 30 CDs, right, at $10 a pop. But a ton of that money goes back into putting gas into the van, you know, or if we want to get a hotel or sleeping in the van, you know, things like that. Like you have to take that into account. Whereas if you are part of a label, they do take care of that for you. But we just never got to that status of like being part of a label. And then, you know, just got kind of tired, and I thought like, well, I have to do something. Like I can't just keep hanging on and not having any money, because at that time, like I was working, but all my money was going into music, buying instruments, or like, you know, renting vans, or, you know, making merch and shit like that.
Yeah.
It became unsustainable, so I just had to stop.
Well, I mean,
But it was fun.
I'm sure it
Sounds
was
fun.
very fun. I mean, we would love to do music here full time, but I've heard that story many times.
Yeah.
You know, not just from you, obviously from you, but then like there's a lot of big artists who've also said like, you know, the beginning was tough. The beginning was like, you know, you're not sure where the hell you're going to sleep that night. You're not really sure what kind of money you're going to make. You know, you're sleeping in the van. There's always like these van things. It's always about the van. And it's just kind of like doing music full time is just...
It's hard.
It's really difficult, you know.
And then plus, like, not just that, but being your own management, you know, managing your own money and having to make the connections to book shows and things like that.
Right.
Now, I don't know how it is, but before, you know, we almost never did like the pay to play system. We knew like it was too difficult to do that. We wouldn't sell enough tickets. At that time, it was basically like, if your buddy was good with this guy, you know, he'll give you the contact, and, you know, you can try to book a show at, you know, at the Roxy or whatever it may be, that type of thing. It was all like connections. So if you had good connections, you were likely to get on like a pretty decent show or play at a nice venue, something like that.
Be visible with other people that have traction on the same bill, so to speak.
Exactly.
Too. Yeah.
So it was tough.
The same way.
It was tough.
Yeah.
I specifically remember the moment where I thought, okay, I'm not going to do this much longer. And we got invited to play a Battle of the Bands in, where was it? Redlands or somewhere up in the IE somewhere.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And the venue was like whatever. It was like a bar, like restaurant bar / like they had a stage, right?
Yeah.
And after hearing like the first couple of bands, I clearly knew like we're the fucking best band here, hands down. I knew it, just because of the quality and like how much practice we had put into things and stuff like that. And I remember one of the bands particularly, there was this fucking old guitar player. Like he must have been like, if he was 40 or 45, but he must have done a lot of drugs too, because he looked like he was just fucking weathered. And he had like that straightened, dyed black hair with a bandana and a hat. And
my God.
Just totally like, for as much as I love Blink-182, Travis Barker's a fucking bro, and it bothers me because like I don't like that type of person. For as good as a drummer as he is, his type of person, I just can't stand that. It's fucking annoying. But anyways, it was an old bro basically. He was fucking old.
SCV bros.
Yeah, and with all like the famous stars and straps and shit all over the place. So anyways, I remember sitting outside and talking to him, and he's like, yeah, I really think like this band is it. I really think like we're gonna make it this time and blah blah blah. And I thought like, what? Like your band was shit. For one, I didn't tell him that, but I thought like your band is fucking terrible, and you're like you've been doing it for however long, and you're still like trying to make it. It's like it's time to wrap it up, man. Like there's a point where it's not gonna happen. You know what I mean? And so I felt like I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be that fucking old bro still trying to make it. You know what I mean? And
so yeah,
it was just I just thought like, yeah, if this doesn't catch traction, then I gotta stop. And then we ended up losing that day to some fucking what's it called? What's that band called? It's not Journey. It's from the same like era of music. I can't remember.
80s?
Huh?
Like an 80s band?
It was an 80s band, like a progressive 80s band. It's not Journey. But anyways, Rush. Sorry, there's more 70s than 80s. We ended up losing to a fucking Rush cover band that brought a bunch of their friends, and all their friends like
of course
ended up voting for them.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was just like, I mean,
I
didn't really care to win. It would have been nice, but that also kind of showed me like, again, like it's not always about how good you are.
Sure.
You got to have these connections, right?
That's
There's
true.
Politics involved.
I've been saying I've been saying that about music forever. It's just like, dude, there's some people who are just immensely talented. You know, like him. You know, Jason's obviously very talented, very good musician, knows a lot of the stuff that he knows in music. But it's like, you know, there's some other people like just like Jason who are really, really good. But it's just like, you know, you feel like they should be selling out these arenas and doing all these things, but it's just like, it's just so hard.
It's all about your connections.
Yeah.
So you got to meet the right people. But what I can say, at least now, is like we're in the advent of the internet. So things like SoundCloud and YouTube, whatever it may be, that helps.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't have the advantage of that. Had we had it, I felt like something could have happened. But
hell yeah,
we were maybe like 3 years too early, you know.
Yeah.
So, but it was fun.
MySpace Music was around, right, at the time?
Yeah, but nobody was really doing it. Like MySpace Music, you had to, like how music is now, it's on your phone. Like you take it with you everywhere.
Exactly.
And it's always accessible to you. But things like MySpace Music, like you had to sit in front of your computer and listen to it.
Your desktop computer or whatever.
You know, you had to, so you had to really want to fucking listen to it, because that's how music used to be, is like you have to actually, you have a CD player or like a in your car or in the house, like, and you actually have to want to listen to that shit. Versus now, like you can just kind of put on music, and even if you're not really into it, it's just in the background.
Just noise.
Yeah.
At the very least, background noise.
So, you know,
yeah,
it just depends on who you know. My suggestion is just try your best to network and meet the right people as much as possible. Get out there and be social as much as you can.
Social's key.
Because, you know, that's what's going to get you where you need to be, you know.
It's tough. It's its own job.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, doing music is its own job. And it's just like, if you really want to, I feel like, you know, I haven't done anything near the level of what you do. But like, honestly, at least for what we've done together, like it's tough. Like,
yeah,
I think
taxing.
It's taxing. You take time to make products and do this, and
especially like when you want to do it yourself. You know what I mean? Like that is fucking hard. Is when you want to do it yourself, because you can pay people to do it for you. You can pay management companies to do it for you, but obviously, like money goes to them, right? Yeah. So we were always the type of group that fucking refused to have management. Because people would ask us left and right, like, hey, let me be your manager.
Yeah,
let me do this, let me do that. I'm like, nah, like, we're going to take care of it ourselves, basically. You know? So, yeah, it's really not easy. But I remember having to manage the money. I remember having to book shows and, like, having to call out of state and out of LA and just cold calling different venues. Like, hey, you know, I want to play, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
You know, and getting lucky. essentially are being thankful enough to just get like a fucking 10 p.m. slot on a Tuesday night
Right.
in fucking like Las Vegas or something. Like that part was hard. But, you know, again, there was a lot of really like fun memories that came out of that, and just crazy times, amazing times. And one thing I can say about my group is that we were pretty focused. So we did have a lot of fun, but we never got in trouble with too much drinking. We never got in trouble with any drugs or anything. Although we did have a few like shows that we played fucking hungover. That happened a few times. At least like twice. No, not twice, like 3 times. But I specifically remember twice. Like we were playing a show once in San Francisco, and I didn't know when I booked it, but it was a fucking gay bar. I had no idea. And so
that's a story.
Yeah, so we showed up, and it's like all these dudes that are really looking good, you know, like they're well presented.
Right.
And then I realized really quickly, like, oh, this is not what I expected.
It's like, is there a business meeting happening?
Yeah, and it was quite, but it was to this day like one of my favorite shows, because
that's cool.
They had no idea who we were, but they were so fucking into it, and we had a girl singer, and they were really into it. You know what I mean? And I remember that place. It was a 2-story bar. It was pretty decent like size, but we had to carry all our fucking equipment up to the 2nd story.
That gets annoying too.
And that was so annoying.
This guy had a cabinet, dude.
He had a cab.
He had a fucking 8-speaker Ampeg. Holy crap! That's the fucking fridge.
He had the fridge. I love that fridge.
I had one of those plus like I think it was 16 tubes. It was a tube amp.
That was fucking heavy in itself.
The head. Oh man, that shit was heavier than the amp.
Yeah,
that shit was heavier than the amp. So we took
sounded
all that
good.
shit upstairs. We played a show, and they were fucking like way into it, and we got free drinks like the whole fucking night.
Oh, nice!
I love your band. It's so fucking cool. You know, just drinks. Oh yeah, it was amazing, right? And then we went back, and at that time we were lucky enough to get a hotel, and we just continued drinking into the night, and then waking up, and we had a show the next day in, I can't even remember the name of the city. It's somewhere. It's the place where they do the garlic festival. I can't remember. It's up north. It's near San Francisco. I can't remember. But we had a show, and also I didn't know that show was at a fucking church. Like it was a church show, and we were just hung over as fuck, and just
at a church.
And I swear it must have been a terrible show. Like I felt like it was a horrible show because we were all hungover, and the kids just loved it. They're like, oh my god! Bought all our CDs, bought all our fucking T-shirts.
Hell yeah!
It was awesome. Yeah,
that's so cool.
That one I specifically remember because of that. And then the other time we played hungover, we had a Christmas party the day before at my friend Adam's house, and our drummer Connor, who is to this day like the fucking best drummer I've ever met.
Heard him on record.
He was
so good.
He was really good.
Fucking Terminator.
Yeah, that fucking idiot is playing wine pong of all things. And he got fucking trashed and threw up all over the couch. Red wine, blah, all on the couch. And he's apologizing. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'll buy you a new couch. It's like, fuck. So, yeah, that day we also coincidentally were playing at a church in Granada Hills. Across the street from Granada Hills High School, there's a church there.
Oh, yeah.
And we played a show there with a ton of people. There was like a fucking 100 people there. And I promise you, it was the worst show we've ever played because we were just so hungover. But it worked out. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So the lesson here, kids, is to play hungover at churches.
Play hungover at churches. Churches were awesome because they, especially in like really rural areas, like we had the best of luck with churches, especially in Visalia. We played a church in Visalia.
Where's that?
Visalia is a little bit more north of Fresno.
Okay,
so
but not quite the Bay yet?
Yeah. Not quite the Bay.
Not quite Stockton or
past
whatever.
Fresno.
Yeah.
And we were up in Visalia, and I remember after having experience with church shows, I realized like, oh, these churches, like they put on these like kind of youth events, and they get like a shit ton of kids just to come and like hang out and eat pizza and
Yeah.
sing
Enjoying
praise songs
music.
and stuff.
Yeah,
yeah.
And so I totally got in on that, and I was like, oh, we'll just start to book shows
No
at
fees.
these fucking church events.
Yeah.
And so Visalia was another really big one for us. I remember like that was fucking like a ton of kids, and it was a solid show too. Like they had a nice stage. It was a solid show, and the kids bought all sorts of merch and shit, and they even fucking interviewed us for some like radio station out there in Visalia.
Cool.
They're asking, "Oh, what are your favorite, bands and blah blah blah?" And I'm just like, I listen to anime music," and totally like fucking with them. I'm totally like just not serious about this interview at all. It's like, oh yeah, I fucking love Dragon Ball Z soundtrack and shit like that. Oh yeah, Pokemon, my inspiration. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. But yeah, I mean,
cool,
music, that part of my life, I'll never forget it. I'll always remember it. And it's always going to be a big part of me. I sacrifice a lot to be in that group, mainly my education, relationships.
Sure.
Tim knows my relationship got really strained because of my band.
We don't have to get into that, but luckily we're still friends despite that relationship. It was because I knew her before I knew him. And like the first time I met him, it was like I don't really know what you and Justine were doing at that point, but from what I understand, like you weren't really hanging out with her friends or something like that. It was always just like whatever. And then like one moment he came to hang out with us at a Yogurtland or some shit like that.
Yeah, I remember that. Yogurtland.
He knows where I'm going with this.
Oh man, this story.
Oh man.
So like I remember my cousin was living with us for a certain amount of time, but before we would go to bed, because we would share the same room, I would always ask him these ridiculously stupid sex questions. Stupid as fuck. And then I remember talking about my 69 triangle question, which is really just like, would you rather have sex with a girl and suck a dick, or have sex with a guy while she sucks your dick? Something like that. And then I asked something to the effect of like, would you have a guy suck your dick? And then this guy tells me like a mouth is a mouth.
Mouth is a mouth, man.
Those are like one of the first things I remember him telling me, where he was just kind of like yeah, mouth's a mouth, man.
Mouth is a mouth.
To this day, and
that was history.
To this day, that was like our biggest icebreaker. It was just like, dude, I didn't know him. I didn't know who he was other than he was Justine's boyfriend,
Yeah.
At the time, and it was just kind of like funny to just break the ice that way,
Mouth is a mouth.
Yeah, mouth is a mouth. Hashtag a mouth is a mouth.
If I had to.
And a video title.
Yeah, mouth is
kidding.
a mouth, right? But yeah, that's how we pretty much knew each other.
So cool, man.
And then from that point on, we just like been good friends
Just
ever
kept
since.
hanging out.
Cool,
despite like the whole thing, like we both fell out with Justine. Like we weren't, to this day I don't really talk to her. Like we had a falling out years ago. I don't really know what happened there. And it just, for whatever reason, just kind of pushed her away.
Yeah, I mean,
fair enough.
we were all young, and there's a lot of things that I definitely regret. And
Likewise.
Power to her, man. Like she stuck with it. She stayed with me, and she's a good person. And honestly, I wish her the best of success, whatever she's doing. I hope she's happy and she has success, makes money, and lives well.
Whatever life she wants to live. I did see her at Zion National Park, and of all places, Angel's Landing.
Right.
Which is like it's much worse nowadays. But when I went back in 2015, Angel's Landing is like a very nice hike. It's probably one of the scariest hikes you could ever go on, which like you end up trekking through rocks and paths that are not wider than the couch that you're sitting on, and 1,000-foot drop on either side.
That's rough.
So that's fucking tough.
Why?
Like you're like so close to dying, and it's just like shit. But like, yeah, I remember in 2019 I went there and I saw Justine there. She called me out. It's like, Tim Santos. I'm like, what the fuck? Of all places, like, of all places in the world for somebody to recognize me, it's here.
Right.
You know, it's weird. It's weird. But like, yeah, that was the last time I saw her, and she was still going out with that Ben Roethlisberger guy.
Roethlisberger. What the
Who's this
fuck?
Well, like this
you're
guy
so
was
mean.
her then boyfriend, and yeah, he looked very much like Ben Roethlisberger.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
So I just called him Ben Roethlisberger. He was
That's
Ben
so
Roethlisberger was the longtime quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Won like 2 Super Bowls with them, been to 3 or 4.
Well,
I don't remember. Anyway,
anyways,
I wish her well.
best
you know.
of luck.
Best of luck. You know,
Wish her well.
no hard feelings wherever you are. I'm pretty sure you're doing well. I hear a lot of good things about you from Derek. You know, sure y'all, yeah, no, and I'm sure you're living a great life wherever you are. So you know,
That piece
power
of
to you.
shit, Derek, not here today.
You know, next time we should have Derek here, and we should just have like a vintage cast or something like that, a brocast or some shit like.
Retrospective cast.
But yeah, so running back to music and all that in Japan and shit.
How's busking in Japan? Are the youth like empowered to do music, or
No,
like how are
Oh
the
yeah,
art,
yeah.
how are the,
How
how
are
are
they
the arts
doing music there? I'm curious.
It's,
My
it's
cousin-
all it's pure.
cousin-
It's like it's
That's
stuck in
interesting.
fucking 1990s.
Really?
Labels refuse to adapt. Labels refuse to get on streaming
Ah.
services. They want you to buy CDs. Independent artists are very rare, incredibly rare,
How's busking? Is busking
almost
a thing,
almost non-existent.
Interesting.
Yeah, like it's all a huge corporate media.
Mm.
It's a
I
huge
mean, it makes
corporate
sense.
machine driven, you know. So that's essentially how music works there. Now there are some independent groups that are famous, like Asian Kung Fu Generation.
But
for
they
the
have to
longest
they have to
time.
go through a lot to get
Yeah.
to where they are. You
Yeah.
know?
You know, there are
They're
independent
great.
some artists.
Yeah,
Heard
they're
that
great.
from Tim
Yeah, they're really
years
good.
ago.
There are some really famous ones that make it, but those are the exceptions, man. Like they're absolute exceptions. So yeah, generally what will happen, like how entertainment is seen in Japan is way different than how it is here. Like for example, the idol industry over there, how it works, and because I didn't know until I got there and it was explained to me, is basically these girls will audition to be in these idol groups like AKB48, whatever.
Right.
It's always ends in a 48 or a 46. Essentially, they're going into these idol groups and they're learning how to entertain. They're learning how not just to dance and sing, but how to communicate. And then they, quote unquote, graduate from there. And then they start their second career, which is getting into movies, like acting in movies or dramas, or
I see.
being, you know, TV personalities, you know, that are on like, you know, Japanese like variety shows and shit like that.
Right.
So it's kind of like a training ground to get them into the next stage of entertainment, which I didn't know because honestly, and it is still fucking creepy. But-
They're very much groomed to do so to thrive in the sort of like
Yeah.
variety show environment. They have to do all the
Yeah,
press
yeah.
for it.
So,
Look a
but
certain way.
there is also the aspect that I still find creepy with all the fucking old dudes and
Oh yeah.
now James get, you know,
My
fucking
James.
you know, going wild over these 15, 16-year-old girls. It's like it's creepy as fuck.
It is big business though. That's just
Yeah, it's a
corporate.
huge business,
Yeah.
and again, I was told from one of my friends that I went to school with, she used to work as a beer dispenser girl at the baseball games. So if you remember at the baseball games,
Beer
there's all these
dispenser.
cute girls running around with literal kegs on their back.
All right.
And they come
Oh.
up
Yeah.
to you and
Cool.
like they pour the beer and shit. So she had explained the system of how it works there, and it goes basically on ranking. And so you'll have these customers that want to support you, and they'll give you money, and your rank goes up. So that's how the idol system works. It's like these old dudes will spend literal thousands of dollars, and they'll buy like 100 of the same CD to support their favorite idol, so that her ranking can go up in popularity and she can have success and things like that. But it doesn't take away from the fact that they're fucking like 40, 50 plus, like showing up and like just going crazy over these little girls. That's creepy.
It's gonna be James.
It's
That's,
creepy as
that's
fuck.
gonna be James one day.
Why?
He's gonna be like 50 years old, and you know, okay. like I mean, no disrespect to you, James, but like honestly, I tend to ask this question a lot, where it's just like, dude, what's gonna happen in like 5 years, maybe 10 years, when all this doesn't matter anymore? All the like, I'm not hating on K-pop. Okay,
What, the fandom?
No, like I'm gonna take a neutral position as I always have with K-pop. Where it's just like, I've been to a concert, I've seen the fandom, and I can't subscribe to it. It's just not my thing.
Yeah.
There's other people like Joko, who was here previously. Like, obviously, his significant other is really into it, like Haley, which is okay, which is cool. And they're both into it now as a result. They're both going to shows. They just went to Seattle to see Stray Kids, and that's cool and all. But it's just kind of like, I don't know what staying power K-pop really has in terms of music.
Yeah.
And I've consumed a lot of music. I listen to a lot of music. We make music, and you just kind of think about like music that's good over the course of time. Like proven
Staying
ones,
power,
like Stairway to Heaven, right? Like Led Zeppelin, or Don't Stop Believing by Journey, or hell, even more recent ones like What's My Age Again by Blink-182.
Yeah, bro.
That like plays a huge role. Like stuff like that, where it's just like music has like some staying power. Now, I'm not saying like BTS doesn't have like music staying power, and I'm sure people who are huge fans of BTS, who you are probably looking at me like, oh, you're just being a hater and blah blah blah. It's like, really, dude, I just don't know, because K-pop is not about music necessarily. Yeah. It's about selling an entire brand of things, right? So it's just kind of like, you're selling clothes, you're selling plushies, you're selling nail polish, you're selling a whole bunch of things. It's like that cool Japan thing, but it's just like Korea, and Korea's obviously, the government's involved with a lot of this stuff too, making Korea cool with like all this, and as a result, people are wanting to go to Korea. That I know. Like people who are huge fans of these these BTSs and these,
they're gonna be so
Blackpinks.
Disappointed when they go to Korea.
Maybe I would love to go to Korea, again, coming from a neutral position, right? But I just don't understand what the staying power is. And then you take somebody who's extreme like James, right? And James is like spending like tens of thousands of dollars on concerts and merchandise and all this stuff, and it's just like, dude, what kind of staying power is this going to have in a few years? You should probably capitalize on selling your stuff now while it's big, because in 10 years' time, is it really going to be worth as much as like a Jordan rookie card or a LeBron rookie card? Those obviously have staying power and appreciation and value from when you get them. Like, are you really putting... I don't want to sound like an adult, but like, are you really putting your money into something that's like good? An adult.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I compare my hobby, which is like right now I'm just pouring money into a fucking shitbox 8.6, and it's just like, well, at least in 10 years time, it's gonna still be a dope car and probably worth even more, because I'm fixing it up. Even now, like if I sell it now or 10 years from now, it's gonna be worth it. And that's a cool car, obviously, as a result of an anime, right?
Yeah.
Like I think a car like that, something like that, has value over the course of time, which is like, what's K-pop really going to be worth in a few years' time? Like, I'm not hating on it. It's just that I don't see... I mean, it's cool for the moment, but I don't see like spending exuberant amount of money on merchandise and stuff like that.
I would say definitely, what is the staying power in the States, at least? Maybe
maybe in the States.
Maybe it will continue to live in Korea, but Americans were always changing all sorts of shit. It'll probably just go out of taste and
out of style.
It's
gonna have its time, because music is also contemporary, right? Because I mean, like look at the Backstreet Boys, look at NSYNC. Really, the only people who like them now are the people who liked them when they were kids or when they were then. You know what I mean? It's just kind of like I don't really see that they had staying power aside from like those when we were teenagers, like those girls.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, some of their music was really catchy, but again, it's part of a generation.
Yeah.
So I it's probably just part of the generation now where K-pop is really big, and it'll probably just stay on and live on with the people who like it now. But like, I feel like in terms of music, people still love Journey. Like, I wasn't born in that era. I was not even born when a lot of those songs came out, but I fucking love them because I felt like music in the 80s was just so good. So different, but so good.
Yeah.
Also, if you watch Stranger Things, that was a huge, like, 80s
trip, yeah.
80s trip. Stranger Things in general is just a huge 80s trip.
Yeah.
It's so dope.
I saw the new season, and
What'd you think?
it was good.
Spoilers, by the way, but I thought it was great. Like I
Yeah.
thought it was,
I like it too.
and they're building up towards
You
season
haven't seen
I
five.
it?
gotta finish up.
Okay, never mind.
Well,
No,
I
that's
guess
fine.
we're not
It's
going
all
to talk
good.
about it.
I guess
No,
we won't
no,
talk
it's
about
all
But
good.
it was really
Of
good.
the
You
new
know
season.
what I like. The one thing I did want to say though was that the aspect of music and the song choices were pretty excellent.
Metallica
You know, it's just
scene.
like shit. Fucking Metallica.
That was a good one.
The Metallica shit
Metallica
was so
scene
good.
Was so good.
You know, that was like the most. Literally, they summed it up perfectly. Like when
Most
Dustin was just
metal.
like, "That was the most metal thing ever." Dude,
Yeah.
seriously, that was so fucking good. The new Stranger Things is really good, and
Yeah.
I can't wait to see how
How it
they're
ends.
gonna like end it off. And I'm glad they're not. I'm glad they're not gonna turn out like The Simpsons, who just keeps making
going
season
forever.
after season after season and just keep
Yeah.
going. You know, I hate it when shows go on for longer than they need to.
Well, that's
And,
how it
you
is. You know, a lot. I take. You know, how can I say? There's a lot of series that are like that I just used to love and I don't care much for anymore.
Yeah, like The
You know.
Walking Dead. I felt like The Walking
Walking
Dead
Dead
just
was
really
one.
lost its glam after like fourth season, maybe third season. Like it wasn't cool anymore. It wasn't even about the zombies anymore. You
And
know,
then,
it
you know,
became
it's
about
just-
the politics.
It's just beating a dead horse at some point. Like for me,
Yeah.
at least for me, that's how like Star Wars is. It's like, dude, we're fucking beating the shit out of this dead horse for however many years.
They
And-
really should have never made those sequels.
Yeah,
honestly,
and-
the sequels were. I think they're just definitely of all the trilogies that they have, which they have 3. The sequels were the absolute worst.
Yeah, they beat the
You know.
shit out of that dead horse. And what else? What
They're
else
still
can I
doing it
think of?
because they have the Disney Plus shows.
Yeah,
Right,
that's
right,
I
right.
just can't get into it. And then another like the Sonic resurgence. Like as much as I love Sonic, that's another
No.
one that's just getting a. I don't know. It's just beating a dead horse.
I don't
mean-
know how else they're going to redo Sonic. Because,
Yeah.
like, you think about Sonic and Mario, and you feel like Mario has definitely seen, like, he just, for whatever reason, Mario transitioned into 3D so much better than Sonic did.
Yeah,
You know?
and that's just Nintendo in general. Like
True.
if you think about the titles that they make,
They all transitioned
They
well.
all like they're all super quality. They've transitioned well, and you know, there's a million Zeldas, but I still fucking love Zelda.
Fuck
you know
yeah.
what I mean?
Right. Me too.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's just the power of Nintendo versus, you know, like Sony per se. I can't think of too many like staple like Sony
Titles.
franchises
Mm.
that weigh up to the Nintendo ones. There are
Right.
some, but when you compare it to Nintendo, it's like fuck, they have the heavy hitters, fucking Zelda, Mario,
Donkey
even
Kong.
shit like Kirby, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kirby's one of, like, the lesser known. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like
Sleeper.
Kirby was one of the lesser known Nintendo guys, or at least like in terms of you got the heavier hitters like Mario and Link and Zelda or whatever.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
then like Kirby wasn't really up there. You know, Kirby actually hasn't had a whole lot of games recently. I don't think.
He had one last year
Yeah.
that I bought. It was pretty good.
Oh, interesting.
But he's still
He's still
success
he's
in
still a
Japan.
very successful Nintendo character though.
yeah.
Like more so than like the Ice Climbers. The only reason I know most Nintendo characters is because of fucking Super
Smash
Smash Brothers. You know, so naturally, like, you know, that's the only reason I know a lot of these characters, especially like the smaller ones, like Fire Emblem. Like, I know Fire
Oh,
Emblem
yeah.
wasn't really big here, you know, and then I'm like, who the fuck is this Marth or Roy or whatever? And,
Oh,
yeah.
and he turns out it was only like a Nintendo release, Japan only, like video game. But I hear those games were very good in Japan.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
had the Game Boy Advance version. Pretty fun.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Oh,
That was
that's
cool.
cool.
That was cool.
I didn't. You know, I never played a single Fire Emblem. My cousin was really into it after Super Smash Melee came out because that's
yeah.
when people started to know about Marth and Roy, and then yeah, that was interesting. But yeah, I feel like, you know, definitely in terms of like games, Mario just transitioned really well, and Sonic, it's like. The only way his games make sense is if it is a side scroll.
Side scroll 2D.
Yeah, 2D kind of. I mean, 2D,
Yeah.
3D. Like
Yeah.
like the Sonic Adventure games were cool, but
Yeah, I
like,
like them for the
I liked them
Dreamcast.
for what they were.
Yeah.
But like you're zooming through the entire level.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Sonic Adventure 2 is the one that I played more. And I brought that to James's house like a lot when we were growing up as kids. And yeah, like you're just zooming through the level. It's not like Mario where you're kind of, or Zelda where you're forced to explore, which is what 3D games are the best at as an exploration. Like, or sandbox style games. Grand Theft Auto.
Sure,
You know,
sure.
you're going around buying a hooker, like stealing a car, getting drugs.
killing people.
My, but like, with Sonic, you're not doing any of that because the whole point of a Sonic game is to just breeze through it.
Yeah, go from
You
A
know,
to
so
B.
it doesn't really transition well in that sense. And I think that was the huge reason why Sonic didn't do so well on like 3D consoles, and why they never really made another good Sonic game that's 3D, and why Sega, I feel like, kind of just crapped out, which is kind of a shame because the Dreamcast was the system that I wanted in that
Yeah, I
huge
love that
console
system.
war.
Me too.
I had that. I had the Dreamcast when it first came out, and it was fucking awesome.
Yeah, dude. Like when I played a Dreamcast, I felt like it was dope, and I kept telling my dad, like, I want this for Christmas. I want this for Christmas. I already had a 64, but into the disc games, I didn't want a PlayStation. Now, being a dad, obviously, he was right. PlayStation, obviously you could play like DVDs and shit.
Yeah.
And it was just like a better overall system, which it was. PlayStation 2 at the time was really fucking dope.
Ahead of its time, yeah.
You play PS1 games, and it was a good system, but I still wanted the Dreamcast because I was so tied to Sonic. I just
Yeah.
wanted to play Sonic. That's really all
That's
I wanted
why
to do.
I bought it. I got it for Sonic and then Resident Evil Code Veronica.
Interesting.
Those are the two reasons why I bought that the Dreamcast itself.
Interesting.
It was awesome. So, but yeah, I don't know.
Oh man.
Games
Where
are
do-
changing these
Where do
days.
times go?
I mean, right now, the only console that I have is a Switch, and I'm hardly playing it. In fact, I never play it. I've actually been playing my Game Boy Pocket more
Then your Switch.
than my Switch, and that's because one of my friends, Amber, she gave me her Pokemon Yellow,
Oh, cool.
and I'm playing Pokemon Yellow every time I'm on the toilet. So
You're on the toilet forever.
sometimes it brings back memories of when I was a kid. Like I would still play fucking Pokemon on the toilet, and it's just to like, all right, my goal today is to just get to Viridian City or some shit like that.
Yeah,
And it's just like, fuck. Pokemon Yellow kind of sucked because like you were given Pikachu as a default.
Yeah.
And it's like what sucked about getting Pikachu in the beginning was like the first gym is Brock, so
Yeah, I was
Pikachu's
literally gonna
fucking
say that.
useless.
You lose.
So like it was not like before where you could choose like Squirtle or
Yeah.
Bulbasaur.
yeah.
Like Bulbasaur was really good in the beginning because you could get through Brock and through Misty like really easy. 'Cause
you would
they're
have to
both weak
beef up
against-
Pikachu early on and just
Yeah,
like, you
yeah,
know,
but either that or you get a different Pokemon.
yeah.
Like you get like a Caterpie into a Butterfree. Like
Yeah.
getting past Brock was very difficult in the beginning with Pokemon Yellow. And then it got really easy because you had Pikachu for Misty.
for Misty.
And then eventually you get all the rest of them anyway. You get Bulbasaur, you get Charmander, you get
Yeah.
Squirtle, and all that. So,
Yeah, but did you get Missing No?
Missing no.
my missing? I think it was officially missing number, wasn't it?
Missing Number. Had to
But,
like surf up and down, get him.
You were not supposed to catch the Pokemon though.
Yeah.
Because
Oh, yeah.
from what I understand,
You have
like
to-
you were not supposed to catch missing number or whatever. You were just supposed to see him
Storm.
and whatever. You could
Yeah.
run away, and then
Yeah,
whatever
yeah.
item you had on your sixth slot
It's like
Yeah.
was like
99.
like 99
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Master Balls or some shit like that.
Rare candies and
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
The rare
yeah.
candies, yeah. It was like it was either Master Balls or rare candies. That's what I remember the most about that. So it was just like, yeah, you can't.
What a cheat.
That's
move.
what I fucking loved about that game was just like
That was
Little
good.
hacks.
but you have to get to that far already, like
Yeah.
you have to get to Cinnabar Island and just go up and down there, talk to that guy and do that. What I forget what you're supposed to do. You're
I
supposed to
forget
talk
too.
to some dude in Viridian City, have him show you how to use a fucking Pokeball
or
and
the
then-
rod or something. Or
or
whatever.
something like
Yeah,
that. And
yeah,
then
yeah.
and then you go to the fucking next to the gym and you just go up and down and shit. And then
eventually you run into him.
And then eventually you run into him and you see like you get like 99 Master Balls. I remember catching that Pokemon though, thinking that'd be so dope because it knows a lot of like pretty dope moves.
Yeah, yeah.
But it corrupted your game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you were not supposed to catch it. So that's what fucking sucked about
Nuts,
that. But
man.
man, it's like bringing me down memory
good
lane
times,
right now.
man.
Yeah, good times.
Big
Like, I
Lola,
fucking-
where's my Game Boy? I'm done with my homework. Where is it? Where's my Game Boy at? I know where it is. I try to like get it. Top cupboard.
Fucking I mean like the Game Boy I have is the Game Boy Pocket, which was the one right after the first Game Boy. Yeah, and it still works to this day.
Wow.
So it's
Yeah.
pretty fucking dope,
Yeah,
Like,
my N64 still works, the original.
oh, so you
Nice.
see you
I
and
still
Derek
have
are like
that.
the only guys I
Oh,
know
I
who
should've
have that.
Yeah, I still have that, the original with all the original hardware too.
Nice. Oh shit. That reminds me, I was supposed to look for some of these controllers for Derek for the GameCube because I got him Master Quest.
Yeah, you told me.
right?
Oh, nice.
I got him Legend of Zelda Master Quest, which is a rehashing of all the dungeons. So the overworld is the same, like the Kokiri Forest and Hyrule Field, but when you go into a dungeon, it's completely different. It's like revamped, harder. So I wanted him to play it as a fresh take because he's like one of the biggest like Ocarina fans that I know.
Yeah,
And so,
he's a little too conservative though. He's got to branch out.
Yeah,
Gotta play other
I say
Zelda
that
games.
because like I've played a lot of different Zeldas on a lot of different platforms. Like I've played Skyward Sword, I've played the Game Boy handheld ones, all fun Zeldas, all similar puzzles. But he was very conservative. He just like I just want to be on a controller and blah blah blah,
Oh.
So he likes like controller-driven Zeldas, like everything that's pretty much like Ocarina. So he liked Twilight Princess,
like on television.
and he
on
like
screen.
you want to play it on the TV, you don't want to play
Yeah.
it handheld. You don't want to do the motion controls. That was Skyward Sword's biggest complaint is that
The motion
because you
control.
had to literally control the sword like the Wiimote as a sword. So like
Oh.
certain enemies can only be defeated one way, because you have to
Yeah.
either slash
That was the
horizontally
most
or
annoying
vertically.
part of that game.
It was really annoying, but once you look past it and maybe get used to it,
It was one of the better
Skyward
Zeldas.
Sword is like
Such
one
a
of the
good game.
best Zelda games.
Yeah, it's such a good story.
Yeah,
Like, and the music for me, Ocarina of Time, of course, is always going to be special, but that's because of nostalgia. But music for me, like Skyward Sword, is way up there.
Skyward
man,
Sword,
I'll
I
check
think,
that out.
was the first Zelda to be orchestrated
Yeah, it
almost
was amazing.
entirely.
And then
you know?
Breath of the Wild, obviously, fucking great music too. So
Yeah.
Well, Breath of the Wild, they really honed in, I think.
They
Breath of the
can.
Wild's such a good Zelda game. It's a shame because like Derek being as conservative as he is, like playing that game is like very little motion controls. If just a
Yeah.
little, but like very little, to the point where it's just like you don't have to like absolutely move everything. There's some movement involved, but it's not a whole lot. And then like he's missing out. He hasn't played that game yet.
Well, you can get it for the Switch, and they have a setting where you don't have to do the motion controls. So
Oh, okay. It's not fun though. I feel like it's just funner when you do the motion controls because it's a part of the experience, But I digress. He's really missing out on a great Zelda game. But then again, he doesn't really have a Switch. You can get it on Wii U.
I had it for
remember.
Wii U. I bought a Wii U. I skipped a Switch line just so I could get it for the Wii U, which I also bought used just so I can play Breath of the Wild. And then I still liked it. I loved it.
I mean, I think it's the same game,
That's
just
cool.
for different platforms. You don't have to
Different
get a Switch. But
controls.
now it's like, I think the next Breath of the Wild is going to be on the Switch.
Yeah.
it's got to be.
It's got to be. I mean, that's like, it was supposed to come out like last year.
Yeah.
Or something, but pandemic and all this stuff, and so it's not even going to come out this year. It's going to come out next year, and now I'm
Yeah.
wondering,
Man.
like, damn, is it even going to come out next year?
Yeah.
I'm waiting.
I'm waiting. I do want to play it. Like, there's not a lot of time that I allocate towards video games unless I'm on the toilet. But
That's one I will.
Yeah. That's one I will. That's definitely one I will. But. Yeah, man. I never got to play Majora's Mask.
Do it.
I do
fucking
want to
great.
play it. I just
Never
don't have
really
the
played
time, But
It's so good.
from what you tell me, it's like the best, one of the best
For
one of
me.
the best Zeldas. I've never played it,
For me,
I know
it's
the
one of
story.
best ones.
but that's it.
Yeah, for me, it's one of the best Zeldas. Just super dark. Even the music itself is just depressing. Like it's a good game. Yeah, I like that one a lot. I think a lot of people didn't like, and even at first I didn't like the fact that you're Kid Link pretty much the whole time.
Pretty much, yeah.
Small ass Link.
Yeah, but just the story was really good, and it was. You still got you had the leftovers of the Ocarina of Time, so a lot of the same characters were recycled. But I kind of liked that because it reminded me of Ocarina as well. So,
Yeah.
but
use the same engine. So
Yeah.
a lot of the way the game works is similar to
Same
Ocarina.
physics and stuff. Yeah.
But yeah, it was really dark for a kid's game. It grappled with a lot of themes of like acceptance of death and the inevitability of death, things like that. And yeah, it was pretty fucking
Time
dark
limits,
for a
etc.
kid's game. I liked it.
Oh, man.
In retrospect, like I don't think I never even got the first Zelda when it came out. I got it used. Like I already got Zelda way beyond the point where you could buy it new. So
Were you
when
ready in high school, Tim? During that time,
I
or
believe
no?
so.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I got Ocarina of Time, I got it. It's not the gold one. Actually, no, that's not true. I got the gold one from my cousin, but he wanted it back.
Oh.
So, which is fine. That's his
Yeah.
game, you know.
Yeah.
I was pissed, but because I knew he didn't want to play it, you know. But it was
Yeah.
his, so I think I gave it back to him. And then I was just like, "Fuck," you know. I didn't get to finish the game. I really want to finish it, so I ended up getting a used like gray cartridge one.
Yeah.
And I ended up finishing that game. I'm like, this game is dope. Then you find out later, like, oh, you can do this shit on the gold game. I'm like, it's like fucking, like playing an Ocarina in the wild and some shit like that
Yeah,
while moving.
yeah.
And I'm like, that's not really that cool, you know. But yeah, I really wanted to play Majora's Mask, but I just couldn't get myself to. Like I was already on GameCube by that point, and I was like, I don't really want to invest in an N64 game, you know. And then yeah, and then GameCube, and then went to the Wii U. I had
Yeah.
almost every major console on Nintendo except for the NES, first one,
Ooh,
the
I had
Famicom.
Had the NES.
Yeah, I
That was dope.
had a GameCube as well. I remember I got it for Resident Evil 0 specifically.
My
And it was good. It was fucking scary. And then I had Mario Sunshine, which
Mario Sunshine
to this day is like one of my favorite Marios.
great.
Like when I first got it, it came with the GameCube.
okay.
And I was like, this looks fucking dumb. Mario shooting a bunch of water and blah, blah, blah on the fucking island. And then I played it and I was like, wow, I fucking love this Mario. Like almost better than the N64 one. This one is really good. I like the music and the vibe was like this tropical vibe and just running around cleaning graffiti, basically. That was a fucking awesome game.
Wow, what a game that promotes cleaning graffiti.
I really like that
and,
game.
and they made it fun, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I sold it.
My,
I sold my GameCube on eBay. That's when eBay was the thing.
I
I
mean,
mean, it
still a
still
thing,
is,
Still a thing.
but it's, you know.
not as big as it was, but I sold it for like fucking $300.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember that.
Damn, $300 for a GameCube? Holy shit.
And then I got the
Used?
Switch. Yeah, right.
Oh, crap.
And then
You
I got
got
the
lucky,
Switch. I got the Switch way later. I didn't get the Wii U. Didn't get none of the Wii. Nothing. None of that. Did get the Switch though.
I remember when I got a Nintendo Wii, the first Wii, my dad randomly gave me like money to buy a Wii. He just one
Here's
day was
money,
like, "Hey,
son."
where can you get a Wii?" I'm like, "I don't know, anywhere." I wasn't really into it. Like, it was cool. Nintendo Wii was a very fun console coming out of high school, going into college, because we had it in every dorm room, which was super dope.
Sick.
But I remember my dad gave me money and was just like, "Hey, where can you get one of those Wiis?" I'm like, "I don't know, Target, Costco, whatever." I don't know. I was just kind of like, whatever. And he's like, "Oh, here's money. Go buy one." I'm like, "What? Why? Where did this come from?" So I was just like, all right, cool. And then that's how I got a Nintendo Wii. Nintendo Wii had some really good games too. Obviously, they had Twilight Princess, but I didn't play that for that. I played it for GameCube. I played, what else did I play on there? Skyward Sword is on Wii. Mario Odyssey.
Mario Odyssey was good.
Another good Mario game.
How was that?
And it had
Odyssey.
all orchestrated music.
Yeah, the music for
nice.
that game was fantastic.
That score is amazing.
Yeah.
Mario Odyssey, or not Odyssey, sorry, Galaxy. Odyssey is the one on
Galaxy, yeah.
Switch. Galaxy
That's
is the
the one
first
when he's
one.
in
Galaxy
space.
2 had Yoshi, and then Odyssey is the one on Switch. Sorry, my mistake. Mario Galaxy was a really good one, and that, my then girlfriend got me that for Christmas. I was like, "What the hell, Mario?" Like in some like Princess Peach like knockoff or whatever.
yeah.
Like I immediately discounted it, and I'm like, "Man, this is not gonna be fun." And
But
boy,
dude, you
was
gotta
I
do-
so wrong.
Mario Sunshine, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah, man.
I
That
I
game
feel
is
like I've
so
played a lot of
fucking
Marios.
good.
I've never played that one.
That one's good.
Sunshine
That
was
good.
amazing.
Yeah, no,
Loved it.
I'll probably, if I had time to sit down and play a video game, I totally would.
Just quit your job. Play video games.
Yeah, that'd be cool if I could play video games professionally. I know some people who do it. One of the guys we had here, Mike.
Yeah.
He was a guy who played video
He plays
games.
it, and he's a
like-
dev or something. It's so cool.
Yeah, he's like a developer, but like he plays it for work.
So
So
awesome.
I don't know if that's fun at the same time, but the guy also has a side hobby where he wants to collect every single N64 game ever that came out. If it was a
Wow.
cartridge, it's out. He wants it,
Wow.
even the shitty ones.
A
So
through Z. Yeah, imagine that. Crazy.
I don't know. I mean, how the fuck are you gonna be able to like play? He wants to play them all too. So how the hell are you gonna play all those video games? I mean, like, but if it's your job, you're not
Yeah.
married, you have no kids. I think he's not
Plays
married.
it at
has
work,
Kids.
you know?
Plays it at work
Yeah.
because you can. It's fucking dope. Maybe that's what you should do for your job. In the
Play
meantime,
video games.
Yeah.
yeah, play video games.
I'm not
Just-
even that good at video games. I just play it whenever I have time to waste.
No, but then like some people just like play test, and all they do is just like play the
Look
games.
for the
and-
bugs.
They're like,
Yeah,
John, how
like
was the physics?
essentially looking for bugs
Yeah.
or
Run in
or-
this corner for 3 hours today. Do the same.
My-
Did you
Run
no
in-
clip through the map? Ching.
Yeah, run in the same direction for 3 hours. See if there's a bug here. Okay. Yeah, I don't know.
8 hours.
Like, are you allowed to run into enemies and fight them, or Imagine being the playtester for for Grand Theft Auto, and all you want to do is have sex with the hooker.
Oh, I found a bug here. Hold on.
Oh, I found a bug here. Yeah, in the
Yeah.
back seat of this car.
Terrible.
But yeah, but fuck. Yeah, I'm glad Japan put out some really dope ass video
Go
games and
Japan, man.
consoles.
Yeah, they're
because-
pretty serious about the video games. The quality is just amazing, and it also ties into the culture and how they are as a people. Very detailed, very serious about their work, and they want to do it 100. They're not going to do it halfway. So that's why a lot of the video games
Delays.
continue
Take
to this
time.
day.
Yeah.
That's why I have a lot of faith in Breath of the Wild too.
Because they just want to put out a good game.
Yeah, they want to
You know.
do something really
That's good hype.
solid and innovative. So that's what's nice about that and the culture there, is that they're fucking serious about their work. It's good and it's bad. It's not good that they're fucking working like 14 hours a day on video games, but it is going to be a damn good product. So
Yeah, man. I mean, I hope those people who are working on the games, like, they get to see the fruits of their labor, like maybe get some compensation, obviously, financially. I don't know how it works. But it's like, dude, like, you think about some of these people like Koji Kondo, that guy who pretty much made the music to, like, a lot of popular Nintendo titles, like the Mario theme and the Zelda theme. It's like, I hope that guy's making some good money because
Some
holy
residuals,
shit.
etc.
Maybe
Yeah.
residual,
Yeah.
or something, because it's like he made a lot of like so much memorable music, and it's just like, dude, I'd hate to see like the guy who made Tetris, right? Alexi, I forget what his name
Yeah.
was. That guy
Tetris.
couldn't even see any monetary value from Tetris because anything that was made in the Soviet Union, which at the time was, that's what Russia was.
Yeah.
You don't see it. Like, Russia immediately took control of Tetris and was like, yep, this is ours. And so it belonged to the government, and they got to me. Like, I think only recently did he start seeing money from all his Tetris stuff.
Interesting.
But like, he went through a lot of lawyers and stuff like that. But that's what
know
sucks.
It sucks.
But yeah, so like, I hope. I don't think anybody in Japan is gonna suffer because it's not the Soviet Union, but
Yeah.
you know what I mean. But anyway, I digress. It's getting late. I'm getting tired. Had a long day today.
It's been a great
But,
day.
Yeah. Oh, it was a really good day.
Yeah.
Like, not to mention we had a really kick-ass meal, but it's kind of
oh yeah.
Yeah,
kicking my
thanks
ass
to all.
now.
Thank you, Tim.
and I'm just old. It's like only like 9:10.
Yeah, my eyes are getting droopy.
And I'm like old. I'm feeling tired. But John, so
Thank you.
so
Thanks,
grateful
John.
to fucking have
Thank you for having
obviously.
me. This won't be the last.
Yeah, it won't be the last. We'll probably come back and do another broadcast with Derek or some shit.
I'm definitely happy to just talk shit with Derek for 2 hours. Just talk complete shit. We'll talk shit about everything, K-pop, all of it.
Yeah, I mean, but he likes K-pop.
That's okay. I'll talk shit to him
because it's Derek.
because it's
That's
Derek.
fucking funny.
He doesn't take it. He doesn't take it hard.
No, because he does it. He does it too. You know, like Derek can take it as much as he can deal it. You know, which is cool. But yeah, we'll probably have you here next time, and then we'll just have another broadcast or some shit. And, it'll be fun. It'll be dope. But yeah, man, thanks for coming, John. Appreciate
Thank you.
it.
It's nice to be home, and
Thanks, John.
It's nice to be home. Nice to have you home.
we'll hang out.
Hang
some more.
out some more. But yeah, man.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Until
Peace
next
out.
time, guys.
Later.
Thanks for watching this Indescendants video. For more of our content, follow us and hit that subscribe button.